Today, the UN Security Council is voting on a U.S. and Chinese proposal to blacklist more North Korean individuals and entities, and also some more sanctions. But it appears that China is not complying with the sanctions that are already in place. Here's what U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley had to say on China putting pressure on North Korea.
At this point, I do believe, and I think the administration believes, that China is doing back-channel networking with North Korea in a way that's getting them to try and stop the nuclear testing.
And in fact, we know that in the first quarter of 2017, the China-North Korea trade, it was up 37.4% from the same period in 2016. So how can we depend on them?
I think you have to depend on the diplomatic effort, and I take Ambassador Haley's point with regard to back-channel communications with the DPRK. It's the only real viable way to influence North Korea, I believe, with regard to the Chinese diplomacy. I think the sanctions can be enforced. They have been enforced in multiple violations of the UN Security Council resolutions by the DPRK. I think it's a long game. I think China is also a member of the UN Security Council with the United States, as well as the bilateral diplomacy between President Trump and Xi Jinping that was established in Mar-a-Lago will bear fruit. But it's going to take a long time. There's an incredible capability that the DPRK continues to demonstrate, as well as to flout the international will of the UN Security Council resolutions.
And something that we demonstrated 2 days after Pyongyang fired a short-range ballistic missile that actually went, 248 miles, was estimated to have done that. We launched a ground-based interceptor from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. So do you think that that will do anything to show them, look, if you try this, we can defend ourselves? Or will it make them try harder?
I think it'll make them try harder, but it'll also make us try harder with regard to deterrence. We have a duty to defend the homeland. It's part of a comprehensive missile defense effort. We have units of the U.S. 7th Fleet that have the capability to intercept the intercontinental ballistic missiles in the boost phase. We also have to have that midpoint, which was demonstrated by the Vandenberg launch, the midpoint intercept capability. The bottom line is we need a defense in-depth strategy that we continue to develop. Our technology is really good, but we also need that diplomatic pressure and the sanctions regime to basically compel the North Koreans to really listen. We don't want nuclear proliferation. We don't want a threat to the American homeland by a nuclear-tipped ICBM. We will defend ourselves.
And what about the role of South Korea in all of this?
Critically important. We have a treaty obligation to defend South Korea. As you also know, it's part of the United Nations peacekeeping, or the United Nations forces there on the Korean Peninsula. We have to be very, very keen to the voice of South Korea. As you know, a lot of the artillery that the North Koreans have can decimate Seoul. So it's something that we have to keep in mind with regard to our military response, potential military response, our ability to develop a deterrent capability, as well as the political way going forward, listening to the South Koreans in order to influence the North Koreans.
All right. Well, Captain Wells, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight.